Hi, everyone. Welcome to Solidarity Sounds. This is our NDC podcast. It's our first episode, and I'm really excited to be here. My name is Sia. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm one of the hosts and one of the editors, and I do a lot of things for NDC, but this is one of them, and I'm really excited to be here with y'all today. We are here with our founders. We are here with our creators of NDC, the National Diversity Coalition, and we are here to talk about what we do, why we're here, and really just our mission statement, which is how do we amplify voices from all over the country and how can we create a better world that we can live in? So let's go ahead and start by introducing ourselves. Go ahead, whoever wants to start.
Hi, I'm Quinn. I'm one of the principal founders of National Diversity Coalition, or NDC. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm so excited to be here. I'm also from Hartford, Pennsylvania.
Hi, my name is Roch Parayre. I am a junior from Haverford, Pennsylvania as well. My pronouns are he, him, and I am also one of the co-founders of the National Diversity Coalition.
Hey, my name is Christopher Schwarting, pronouns he, him. I'm a sophomore from the exurbs of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I'm one of the principal founders of the National Diversity Coalition.
Awesome. So I think our first question to really get us into why we're here, what started your DEI journey? And for our listeners who don't know what DEI is, it's diversity, equity, and inclusion. And if you want to add a J for justice as well, that's also what we do here.
Well, I can go first for this one. I remember I've always been very interested in sort of social justice work. When I first came to my school in 6th grade, I immediately joined sort of the middle school diversity alliance. We called it Inc. I'm not kidding. And I've been sort of a part of that at my school ever since. I'm very, very passionate about LGBTQ rights and feminism and all diversity, equity, and inclusion rights in general. And that's sort of where I'm coming from.
I think for me, social justice has always excited me from a young age, ever since middle school. As a person who has experienced discrimination, has experienced homophobia and racism, I can better empathize with students who experience oppression, and that is one of the main reasons why I do this work, and why I'm really passionate within this activist work. But I think, over time, I've kind of learned and come accustomed to what does activism also mean in my community. I think bringing voices together and creating spaces for these dialogues to happen is another aspect of social justice that I also wanted to foster. I think really focusing on the people who are on the sidelines, the people who aren't at the front of the movement. That's really important too, because those are the ones who you would never expect to be in this movement, but getting their allyship and spreading awareness is another part of social justice that we also should be talking about.
And I think for myself, I think my journey with diversity, equity, and inclusion work really started as a product of my own self-discovery in terms of finding my identity, being a mixed race individual, trying to reconcile the two different backgrounds I had and finding the ways in which I identified with both and kind of hid both to present myself to people. And I think through middle school, I really had a hard time with identifying with either of those and kind of found myself in an identity conflict. And then entering high school, seeing leaders in our school, like Quinn, like Roch, who were already doing the work, it kind of inspired me to use it as a way of not only promoting activism for others, but also for me to use it as a form of self-discovery as well.
Thank you all so much. And what I really love is that everyone's journey was different, right? And that's the beauty of diversity, equity, and inclusion is that everything is diverse, including the experiences on how we get there. Let's get into our next question. How did you guys create the National Diversity Coalition?
This is a really funny story. Just 1 year ago, that's how crazy it is. Last year in December, I had this one idea about starting a regional diversity coalition, Regional Diversity Alliance, or RDA. And whatever this name was, it did not stand out at all. But we had, the goal of, expanding out of this school. What's so intrinsic about growing up and being a student at a predominantly white institution is that we work as hard as we can to get members. And there is so far that you can go in getting members to actually join your movement, and becoming, frustrated at that, of people not showing up, of people not caring. Our talent was not being used to the extent that it could be used, right? So having this bigger idea of expanding outside of our school and really focusing on the students who are in my Instagram DMs asking for, how do I start an affinity group, or how do I do this? I wanted to really help them because they want help and they deserve help. And that's why I really wanted to expand outwards. So really, with our first idea of creating that regional diversity alliance, there were people who were telling us that, that in itself was too broad, was too daring, was too monumental. But, we kept going with it. And, we expanded even more nationwide. We really attacked our goal because we knew we were worth it. We knew social justice activism, that this organization that we were creating was going to make change nationwide. And this goes to show again that the biggest goals that you have in hand, people can tell you to not do it. People can tell you that it's not realistic, but only you. It only takes one person. It only takes 4 people to really create change.
And I just want to jump in here. It's funny because this organization was actually originally associated with our school. And it was fine for a period of time, but then we realized, that our school was not exactly allowing us to accomplish everything we wanted to with this organization. And so we collectively agreed that it would be best to completely separate. And honestly, everything that this organization has accomplished, beginning all the way back in December as this regional association and then spreading to national, it has been very impactful, I believe, not just to other people, but also to myself. It has helped me enormously come to terms with my identity. And honestly, I remember our first meeting, we did like a who's in the room exercise, and that was the first time that I turned on my camera for LGBTQ, and that was like, wow, this is happening. And since then it's just sort of been soaring, and honestly it's an amazing community of people.
And now, kind of taking our own wants with creating an organization that allows people to gather for inclusion, for advocacy, for education, and taking that and embracing that diversity and spreading that message so that we now have a larger team, now 15 strong, as an executive council that leads an organization that's now growing to over 150 members. We are really, really excited and very, very happy to have this organization that, is a catalyst for more and more people to find affinity in a space and find ways to promote this advocacy and this social justice in their own school spaces and their greater communities as well.
I have to add one more thing to this because this is an amazing question. Why is NDC so important to me? It's a great question. And just going off of that question, what makes NDC so special is that we are entirely student-led, 100% student-led. I think that's so empowering in a sense that you not only see the diversity happen, but you see the youth around us who are so dedicated to change. As Christopher said, we are still expanding. We just surpassed 160 ambassadors across almost nearly 25 states. Our impact is so special, and our community is even more special. I think that's really important. I know for the people who are watching this podcast, if you're a student who feels hopeless in your school, and mind you, I went through the same experiences, trying to create change within an institution that stifles your intellectual curiosity and creativity, and tells you that you're too young, you don't have a place here, leave it to the older people. I see those dynamics within every school. It's an institutional problem. But once we created NDC, I don't have any barriers of what I can do and what I can't do. The sky is the limit, and NDC is really fostering that intellectually curiosity environment. One more thing. So people at my school who often tell me, you do diversity. What does that mean? What does social justice mean? And it's a really hard question. How does fighting for an equitable, egalitarian society translate to what do you actually do, right? I think social justice is an interdisciplinary activity. It's an interdisciplinary duty. I just with NDC, you are battling with executive. You're basically, how are you weighing business executive? You're getting that experience within NDC. How do you create an organization? How do you balance making a website, social media, doing a podcast, doing a documentary? How do you balance mentorship and helping people create petitions, creating institutional change, and implementing change within the administration? These are things that are interdisciplinary. Not only are you writing things, doing media, but you're also battling business, and how are you creating an organization? How are you getting members? How are you mobilizing? How are you spreading your message on social media? Everything is connected. And that's why I feel like social justice is so important. It's going to prepare you for life. It's going to prepare you for any occupation that you go into.
Going into that, let's just go ahead and ask, what does NDC mean to all of you?
If I think about why we all collectively started the National Diversity Coalition, it was because we were craving something more than we were able to accomplish within our own schools. We wanted to be able to reach out further than just in this community that was not accepting anything we were trying to accomplish and blocking that out. So we created this coalition to create this community of people, like-minded people trying to accomplish similar goals. And because we all have those same goals, we are capable of accomplishing so much more. And it has only built from there. I mean, if I look back on the conference we had in May, we had almost 100 people attend, I believe. And it was such an amazing experience, not only because we had these workshops on different topics and because we had the people, but because everybody there was genuinely interested in making this change, versus when we had some meetings at our school. And I'm sure most people can relate to this in other environments. It's difficult to make anything substantial occur if not everybody is fully invested in what we're actually doing.
And I guess to echo those who have gone before me, I guess NDC really becomes, in terms of meaning, synonymous with like terms. So like belonging is one that really, really hits me when I think about the National Diversity Coalition, because it's so representative of so many people. And I think there's something really powerful in seeing the diversity that is within the youth of this nation be represented in a body that is so set in advocating for itself and advocating for others. So for me, really, the NDC is a place where I can go to see people who are like me and aren't like me, but are all united together in making sure that all of us have a collective experience in our schools and in our communities that will treat us equally, treat us justly, and most importantly, do us right, do us well.
I had one more thing to add to that. Sorry, Sia. One thing that really stuck out hearing Christopher and Roch speak was when I'm reflecting on how NDC was created in such a short time and how it's expanded so much, how it's exceeded all of my expectations so quickly. I'm constantly reflecting on the activist journey and my journey of activism and how it has influenced me. I think my journey of activism is a very long one, and it was very rocky, very rough as well. There were some great moments, especially of NDC, but there were also some moments where, I was at my lowest. I think one of the moments that I reflect with NDC is burnout. I think burnout is a real problem within the activist community, especially for someone like me, who is one of very few who are doing this work in my community. I constantly overwork myself. I constantly, doing with NDC, I can't even imagine this. 1 year ago, I was doing 2 hours on a social media post, 2 hours on creating a presentation, 2 hours on getting members to get involved. I was spending countless nights until like 2 a.m. in the morning, just working on NDC. And it was so unhealthy. It was really unhealthy. Although you see the visual aspect of members climbing up, of Instagram followers climbing up, and you have to wonder to yourself, am I working to a healthy extent? And that's what I really battled with along my activist journey, because just being the only one in this work, you have to, I put my heart and soul into it, and putting all of that time and effort was emotionally draining to the point where you lose your passion for the work. Once you understand that there are people to support you, that there is so many people, we have this amazing 15-member executive council that can take over this work and can really elevate it and just not put the burden on one person. And that's how the passion really still invigorates our community. We cannot be burned out. This work is really important, and we need all hands on deck.
And I will say right before we get into our next question, one of the best things, a lot of our listeners are probably came from SDLC. Hey, SDLC 2021, love it. One of the greatest things that we focused on in my family group was self-care. And we watched a great Angela Davis video on her talking about why self-care is important in the activism journey. And taking care of yourself is a really big thing. And you guys might be taking care of yourself right now by listening to this podcast. And thank you guys for bringing that up, because I think we forget that, like, if we don't pick up the work, who will? And it's very important to hear that you're doing great, you're killing it, you can keep going. And if you need to take a break, it's no big deal, you got it. Now let's go into, we talked about why NDC is important to you. Let's talk about what you do specifically. What does NDC do? What does it aim to do? And what do you do specifically within NDC?
Great question. I can summarize NDC in a sentence. NDC is an organization of over 160 members across nearly 25 states nationwide. And what we do is that we fight for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And how do we do this? We do this through several committees. We want to help you through mentorship. How do you implement change within your own community, within your own schools as well? Through petitions, writing change in media and newspapers, things like that. But we also want to encourage you to really focus on different aspects of networking and career aspects, like social media, like this podcast, and like continuing those tight-knit community within a family group. NDC is really that tight-knit community that we really want to inspire leadership within.
And just adding on to that, NDC in the past has specifically been this network of people that meets and gathers and shares ideas on how to impact change within their own communities. And from there, we hosted a large conference this spring where we had multiple workshops, several on misogyny and feminism, on different racial issues, LGBTQ activism, et cetera. And then we also had affinity groups during the lunch period. And so there are these workshops that we prepared and the different conference meetings. And these are all aimed at impacting change within specific schools. Because we come from different areas around the nation, it is quite difficult to meet in one specific location. So the point is to reach out, provide sufficient resources for people to actually make a change within their own communities. And that is honestly one of the largest goals of NDC, that and being a community of people on which we can rely. And I specifically for NDC have in the past been sort of a, I want to say, communications coordinator type person. And then I also hosted one of the conferences in the spring, led workshops, et cetera. So that has been one of the main things that I have been doing other than just founding the coalition.
I don't think there's much I need to do to really add on to those definitions, but I'll say what's really great about the National Diversity Coalition is that we are entirely virtual. I think that's become clear kind of with our mission, is that access is really, really important for the NDC to make sure we are getting that diversity and inclusion to students across the nation. And to do so, therefore, I mean, we try to keep, there's no entrance fees for our workshops. There's nothing you have to do to become a member, just fill out a form. So we really, really want to emphasize there that there should be nothing in the way of you joining us, as long as you got, a Zoom like we have here, please come and join us. It's really, 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 really a space for you.
I'm actually very glad that you guys mentioned the amazing workshops and affinity groups and all the things that you guys do, because our next question is, what are you most proud of? And I just want to say that I'm extremely proud of you guys for all the work that you do. And I'm really happy that you guys brought it up, because for those of you all listening, this conference that we had was one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever been a part of. And I am so glad y'all mentioned it, because I want people to hear how amazing of a job that you guys did. So
Sia, first of all, your words are so sweet, and you might not have been a co-founder, but you have been just as important to the entire NDC process. So thank you for everything you do. Definitely the conference, in terms of just NDC accomplishments, has been one of the most impactful and important occurrences that NDC has been a part of, for me at least. And I also think that I want to do a little advertising here. We are having another conference this spring, just throwing that in there. So everybody listening to this, part of SDLC or NDC, look out, super excited for that. But most importantly, I think that the community that this group has become, and I'm reiterating this because it's so important to me, is genuinely something that I am so happy to be a part of. I've never found this anywhere else, and I'm so glad that we were able to foster this environment.
Just adding on to that, I feel like what I'm so proud about NDC is that we don't just talk the walk. We don't just walk the talk, right? We're not just saying diversity, inclusion, solidarity, all these big name words on a website. We don't do that. We speak our truth, and we also, our actions speak for our words. That's really important. I think we're actually creating real change within not only member schools, but also we're creating a community that is truly accepting. I think a big problem about activism work is that, gatekeeping is a big problem. Gatekeeping is contributing to the divide among America and globally as well. But how are we denying people? That's a big problem in activism work. What's so special about NDC, as Christopher said, is that it's very accessible. No matter who you are, where you come from, you have the opportunity to join NDC. I think that's so amazing. I think that's so rewarding about this work. And just seeing, we've created a community that is so passionate in this work. I can see the fire in their eyes, and at every meeting, it's truly rewarding to see them.
I guess for me, for NDC, I think the thing that I'm most proud of is actually, I think, the change I've seen in myself. Because by learning from the people that have been so active on the NDC, Sia, I'm going to shout you out, Women's Affinity Group, that was really an incredible presentation you gave. Or to my friends just here who, every day come with an energy and a passion and energy to inspire others and to learn from others as well. I think seeing how that has allowed me to apply different spaces to my own school community, or look into different spaces or in the greater context of our nation and go, all right, this is how I'm going to try and make a difference, because these people have proven that they can do it. I think that's something really special, and I'm really happy to have had happen to me, and that I hope will continue happening as we continue to grow and foster the organization that is the National Diversity Coalition.
that is amazing. Y'all, for real. I am so proud of every single one of you for all the work that you put in tirelessly, working with people from across the country, different time zones, making sure that we're all safe and happy and doing a good job. It's really unique to be able to say that you're working in such a nice and kind and supportive environment, and you guys foster that every single day, no exceptions, no failures, and it's great. And it's really rewarding to see, obviously, because of how much we've been able to accomplish. And it's crazy to think it's been a year. You mentioned it earlier, but it's only been a year and we've absolutely killed it. But thinking about time, what are you guys looking forward to doing this year to contribute to NDC and maybe even your own local diversity chapter that you have at your school?
Well, I know that we've been trying to sort of build a lot of things at our own school, different petitions and different groups. I know that the GSA just started this year, same with the Hispanic Student Association, the Muslim Student Association, a bunch of different affinity groups just sort of became actual concrete groups this year at our school. And that can sort of also translate to what we're trying to do this year with NDC. Last year, we had this big group, and I know that this year we're also going to try to incorporate some smaller groups with different activities that we're doing. And also the committee work that we're going to be doing this year is also going to be very specialized. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to, so that this community aspect of the NDC can continue to grow throughout the entire year. And then I'm also obviously so excited for the conference and for what we're planning for that. That's going to be great.
NDC is really a constant cycle of seeing familiar faces and new faces. And having just heard about SGLC and being a participant this year, I recall that experience being so transformative for me, to meet so many people with all these great backgrounds and interesting stories, but all collectively there to learn and to inspire and to try and make change. And I think, you know, what I most look forward to NDC is to continue meeting these faces of people who are so inspiring for me, and to learn with them, to share my experience and to share what I've achieved with my, my peers at my school, as well as taking the time to take maybe what they've achieved and try to learn how to apply that to me. So continuing to learn is really something I look forward to this year, whether it be in conference, whether it be in general meetings, or perhaps maybe in smaller settings as well.
Yes, NDC is so amazing because we are constantly creating new ideas, new plans every single meeting. You think diversity, equity, inclusion can only go so far. That, you can only do protests, you can only do, discussions, you just sit in a conversation, talk about, oppression and what happened at your school, right? No, there's so much more that lies underneath the ground. And that is what's so important about this grassroots work. I think of NDC as kind of as a protest, right? We have the people at the front lines, and, being at the front, it was exhausting, it was draining, it was mentally, physically, you're debilitating, right? But once I discovered that there are people in the back who have so much voices to say, Sia and Via and so many other, that 15-member exec team is at that front lines. We're hand in hand, we're walking, and we're doing this work together. And when we hold hands together and when we're at the front, we are truly more stronger. What I'm looking so forward to in the future is especially this podcast. How are we as a podcast going to amplify voices who are on the sidelines, who are watching our movement, who are walking behind us, right? We need to hold hands together, and we need to amplify their voices, because their voices are also important as well.
And that goes into my last question. A lot of us are graduating soon, and we are on our way to do big things, just as big as NDC is. And I wanted to ask all of you, what do you want to say to the future of NDC?
This is a really interesting question, because I can't really imagine this group without some of the older alumni, like Sia and Quinn, and last year it was Kathan. I'm a junior, so I still have one more year, but it's weird to think that next year I'm going to be like one of the oldest people in the group. But what I really want to say is, after we're all gone, just don't let this group die and keep doing what we try to do. I definitely think that because we have so many committed people, I don't think that's going to happen, but I just really want to enforce the idea that what we have is so special and that it needs to be sort of preserved and also continue to grow. So it's sort of this duality that's really important, and I just can't wait to see what the future holds.
And I think that goes into, I brought it up earlier, but like, if we don't pick it up, who will? And I think one of the greatest parts about activism is that when you're in it, and you're in it for life. And what's really exciting is that you guys continue to raise the bar every time, and people continue to meet it every time. Does anyone else want to add? It could even be like, what do you want the future of NDC to look like?
I guess I can add on to this, but the future and what I have advice for the future NDC members and leaders as well is really self-reflect. That's the most important thing. Really understand that when you put yourself into this work, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard. And I learned this through many ways, through many positive interactions, through many challenges, through many barriers. Activism work is a very tumultuous journey, but it is so rewarding. It is so rewarding, and seeing the change in front of my eyes is truly remarkable. Another thing is that before you do this activist work, before you put yourself on the front lines, before you become calling for change through every institution that you're at, you have to really reflect on yourself. Be confident in who you are, accept yourself, love yourself, realize your self-worth. Because if you don't realize your self-worth, then how are you going to help other people to discover their self-worth? That is truly important. And I, helping so many students who are like me to embrace their identity, I needed to embrace mine first. And that was a number one step to achieving success.
I guess I want people in the future to know that the work that goes into the NDC is ever changing. And you continuing to work in that vision and to continue pursuing that vision you have, that dream you have for what your community should look like, what the nation should look like, and what your role should be in it. Don't ever lose sight of that, what that is. Don't ever let anyone tell you that that is not a valid vision worth pursuing, because the entire purpose, I think, of NDC is to make sure that one day it doesn't actually have to exist, because we need spaces where everyone is included, everyone is equitably treated, everyone is justly treated, and that is something we really don't have right now. So make sure, at the end of the day, if you can leave NDC saying, I did something to do it, whether it be discovering yourself, doing something for others, it doesn't have to be super big. But if you can do that, or if you dream of doing that, I think that is one of the greatest things you can take away from NDC, and never lose sight of that vision for the organization.
Christopher, that was the perfect way to close us out. And that was such a perfect message to hear. I love that. This was Solidarity Sounds. Thank you guys so much for listening. And thank you to our board for being here. You guys are incredible. And I know I'm not the only person that will say that to you. We are doing great work. You guys are doing great work. And we really appreciate everything you guys have done for us. Again, this is Solidarity Sounds, and we will see you in our next episode. Thank you.